Hello, everybody, and welcome to the final edition of In Pit Lane for 2021. Yes, it's been a big year, and we're rounding it out with some good news for local drivers. Oscar Piastri, a little bit more about what he's planning to do next year. We've also got a new world champion. Lots of things to wrap up for this season. So we're going to do that now. We don't have a lot of time, so I tell you what, let's not waste any more of it. Let's go straight to the In Pit Lane Motorsport News. A storming come-from-behind win has kept Lewis Hamilton in the hunt for the 2021 World Formula One Championship. After having to start from the rear of the grid in Saturday's sprint shootout race, Hamilton stormed through from 10th place on the grid to pass Max Verstappen late in the race to win his 101st Formula One Grand Prix. The brilliant drive keeps Hamilton within striking distance of Verstappen with only 3 rounds remaining. Hamilton's teammate Valtteri Bottas started from pole, but once again a poor start relegated him to a minor place. Bottas was second, but moved aside to assist Hamilton in his chase down of the leader. Verstappen's teammate Sergio Perez was fourth and grabbed the bonus point for the fastest lap of the race. In the fight for the best of the rest, Ferrari seems to have moved ahead of McLaren with 5th and 6th places to Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. The best finishing McLaren was a 10th place for Lando Norris after a puncture on the first lap after contact with Bottas. So what does Hamilton's win mean for this year's championship? I spoke with In Pit Lane's floor manager and resident Formula One tragic Peter Johnson. I started by asking him if he thought Hamilton's drive at Sao Paulo was one of his best ever.
It was one of his best ones. I'm always a bit dubious with fines with 2 championship leaders at the end of a season. I really thought that Max Verstappen was going to get an on-track sanction as well as the fine for touching the Lewis Hamilton's car, because I think they tend to want to try and drag the championship battle as long as they can. I've seen it with Supercars where they put a sanction on one of the 2 drivers leading the championship when it's at the tail end of the season. So I'm always a bit dubious with sanctions with 2 championship leaders at the end of a season.
What did he do? I mean, sort of, I because of the time zone and all the rest of it, I didn't see all of what happened on the weekend, and I must admit I spent quite a lot of time watching the Petit Le Mans from Road Atlanta. But so what was the situation in Parc Ferme with Max Verstappen and Lewis's car?
He looked at the Red Bull, his car's rear wing, and touched it, and then he went over to Lewis Hamilton's car, and sort of felt underneath it, and he appeared to be looking for something, and all he would say when he was asked about it was there's rumours that there's something going on with their rear wing. It was separate to the DRS being the wrong length or whatever it was, so it was separate from that. It's something else that Mercedes is doing that they're Red Bull aren't happy with.
So right now, do you think we've got 3 rounds to go in the World Championship, 3 rounds including one at a brand new circuit, which will be interesting. They're talking about it as being very much a power circuit and being very Mercedes friendly. Is Hamilton still is very much a chance, or is Max in a position now where really if he plays it smart, he's just got to sort of play the margins and come home in second place, and he's got this thing wrapped up?
Possibly, but I think based on the pace at Brazil, I think Lewis Hamilton is likely, and I think all the Middle Eastern circuits are flat and just full on pace circuits. And I think with Mercedes' new engine that they've put in Lewis's car, I think he's going to keep winning. I think he's going to win from here on in the races. So it probably, I think if Verstappen can keep getting seconds and things, he might be all right. But I think it's Lewis's to lose from here on in. I think.
I mean, what was impressive about it from, when you look at where he started, it wasn't just the fact that he worked his way to the front, it was how quickly he got through all of those other cars. I mean, it was within a matter of a few laps, he was already up to fifth, and it almost seemed inevitable. They were already saying, I mean, the commentators were already saying about the fifth lap that, not only could Lewis win it, but probably he would win it, and sure enough, he did.
He did the same trick that he did in the sprint race, which was to take his time on the warm-up lap and get his tyres really warm, and so, but it paid off.
Yeah, that's part of the game, isn't it? That's it. So, for what you think, I mean, for the next few rounds, what should we be looking at, and where do you think of this? I mean, you've called it basically. You think Lewis is probably the favourite, but if you were putting money on it now, would you actually be putting the money on Lewis?
I don't know whether they're just foxing and what do you call it, sandbagging, but it appears even. Max has said they're too fast. We just couldn't catch them, and I don't know how you cure that over the next, especially when you've got a race next week within a week. I don't know how you cure that, how you fix that.
Pete, thanks for joining us and giving us your opinions on Formula One for this last week, and of course for the rest of the year. But now, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We're going to take a break now on In Pit Lane, but when we come back, we're going to catch up with all the news from MotoGP with our special guest, my regular co-host, Craig Doc Latigo. Don't go away. You're watching In Pit Lane, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the final episode of In Pit Lane on Channel 31 for 2021. Australia has a new world champion. He's Remy Gardner, son of 1987 world champion Wayne Gardner. Gardner's main rival for the Moto 2 championship, his teammate Ralph Fernandez, won the final race of the season at Valencia, but a 10th place for Gardner was enough to give him the title by a mere 4 points. It was a pretty good weekend for the Aussie MotoGP contingent, as Jack Miller grabbed a 3rd place to be a part of a Ducati podium lockout in the main event. The race was won by Francesco Bagnaia, who led home Jorge Martin by less than half a second after yet another titanic MotoGP race. But before and after the race, most attention was turned to 10th place finisher, the great Valentino Rossi, in his final MotoGP. A standing ovation on the warm-up lap and an induction into the MotoGP Legends Hall of Fame were just a part of an emotional farewell to the 42-year-old champion. Rossi will now move into team management with Italian riders Marco Bezzecchi and Luca Marini leading the new VR46 team. He's also expected to make a move to more four-wheel racing, including GT3 for Ferrari. So the season is over, and what a season it's been. In Pit Lane's bike racing boffin, Doc spoke about an amazing season and our new world champion.
Congratulations to Remy Gardner, who is Wayne Gardner's son, of course. Had a tumultuous few years, but at 23 now, he's smashed it out and managed to grab the second-tier title in the premier competition of bikes around the world, and that's basically only hasn't been done by an Australian since 1969. Just trying to think, it was Cal Carruthers, I think back in 1969 it was. I just had to notice down in my notes, and Cal did it, but it's only the second father-son combination that's been able to do it in the world ever. Kenny Roberts and his son, senior and junior, completed the title a few years ago. So yeah, massive congratulations to Remy and excellent news. And he'd already been touted. He's already got the contract signed for KTM next year in Tech 3 as for the MotoGP main game. So yeah, looking forward to it, Brett. That can't wait to see two young guns Aussies in their 20s hitting it out in the main game.
The interesting thing is, as you said, I mean, it hasn't been an easy run for him, but just it seems to be this year something just clicked. And what really impressed me about him was that a lot of the times he seems to have got consistency now. He was always quick, but he was he was very inconsistent. But now he's got this idea, and I think I mentioned on Full Course Yellow that I was really impressed with his performance in Portugal, where he basically said, I don't really like this track. I'm not suited to this track, but I put my head down and I wanted to pick up consistent points. And he finished third, and he said, I was as happy as that as a win, and that showed me that the kid's got a brain.
And the results obviously show those aspects of his personality this year. He won 5 races, but not only won 5, he was also second 6 times this year. So he's actually been on the podium in the second run more than what he's been up on the top step. So well done. And it was by the slimmest of margins he won it up in Valencia on the weekend. So close. He only won it by 4 points because Raul Fernandez was on 307 and Remy needed to get in the top 13 with Raul coming first on the day to win by 4 points by the end of the season. So congratulations. Well done, Remy. But look, it was a spectacular weekend, full stop, Brett.
Yeah, it certainly was, and as we sort of look at Remy as a coming man, we've sort of got a going man as well. It was it marked the last race, the main race in MotoGP was the last appearance, as far as we know for the moment, for Mr. Valentino Rossi. And where does he sit, Doc? I mean, in your eyes, in terms of all the greats of the world of MotoGP, where does he sit?
Definitely number 1 now. I mean, there's a couple of them like Franco Agonisti years ago and Alberto Puig and stuff like that. They were always, there was the argument for they were the best, but when it comes to everything now, personality, which is what made us the man, made us the sport. He grew. It wouldn't be MotoGP without Valentino going back in. When did he start his career? I think it was 1990 something. Look, Zhou, just to give you a hint of it, Zhou Mir, which is the world champion from last year, wasn't even born yet when Valentino first started on the MotoGP circuit. So he's been around a long time, and he's definitely the be-it-all, end-all. He's just, he's got more fans than in any social media than any Formula One driver. So 372 races, 89 wins, 199 podiums, just that one short of 200. Bad luck, Valet. But look, you can go anywhere around the world, and whether you're a motorsport fan, a motorcycle fan, or anything at all, whatever you're doing in life, and if you see VR46 in any way, shape, or form, whether it be on a T-shirt or on a billboard or on a bike going by, you'll recognise that was Valentino Rossi. And look, the bike they had, I think you would have had in the news tonight as well, though, too. I know you're throwing the show together and doing a fantastic job this week because there's news coming from everywhere. But the 9 bikes that they presented to him for all his world championships, and 9 of them were just something special on the weekend. It was just absolutely magnificent.
Yeah, and of course he's going to run his own team next year, which we talked about in the news, and also it looks like he's going to be running a bit more 4-wheel stuff, including running GT3 with some Ferraris, and so we look forward to that. Somebody who was also racing, a good weekend for Australians, Jack Miller finished third. I mean, Paco Bagnaia was the winner of the race. It was a great finish to that race, but Jack's not putting his feet up. Jack's coming home finally to Australia, but he's not resting. He's going to race at the Bend in a couple of weeks' time in the Australian Superbike Championship. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, crazy stuff. But look, he didn't make it home last year. He spent our Australian summer overseas in training because he was flipping from the satellite squad onto the MotoGP Ducati squad for the year. So he didn't come back, and he even missed his sister's wedding. So he made some sacrifices last year, but he's going to go all out this year. He's coming home. He's been entered in the Bend for a while. It was all based on him being injury-free finally at the end of the season. So, yeah, we didn't know. We would have, fingers crossed, we didn't want him to crash anyway, but if he had been injured, he wouldn't have raced. So now he's going to draw a huge crowd. Anyone and everyone around Australia can, to a certain extent, can go and visit him now and watch him at the Bend. On December 5th in the Australian Superbike round, he bought his own bike. Jack's apparently renowned for doing that. He doesn't take any freebies. He doesn't take any hammy outs. He's bought his own bike. He's got it here in Australia. There's a bit of a story that he's flying it out here, but it's a V4 Panigale Ducati, basically factory spec, or what you buy off the showroom, with a couple of little extra bits and pieces like some brakes and stuff like that.
Okay, Doc. Well, it's been an amazing year of MotoGP. It's come to a close now. Thanks for the reports during the year. Thanks for all your help on the show. For what it was, the few times we did manage to get back in the studio, but we're right out of time now. And thanks for joining us for that. And when we come back after this break on In Pit Lane, we're going to be looking at the world of supercars. The NHRA season is wrapped up, and also we're going to be checking up some late breaking Formula One news as well. That's when In Pit Lane returns right after this break. Welcome back to In Pit Lane. Well, the next generation of Australian supercar racing continues to shine as Will Brown won his first ever supercar race last Sunday at Sydney Motorsport Park. Brown took advantage of a great pit stop by the Erebus team to take the lead and hold off the experienced Red Bull racing pair of Jamie Whincup and Shane van Gisbergen. The Red Bull team threw away any chance to get past Brown after squabbling between themselves, with Whincup refusing to move aside for his teammate. Whincup, who will take over the management of the team next year, defended his decision, saying that he didn't regret anything. Earlier in the weekend, it was another young gun, with Anton Di Pasquale taking 2 races to continue his late season run of form. Van Gisbergen still leads the championship by 377 points, with 2 rounds remaining, including the Bathurst 1000 on December the 5th. The 2021 NHRA drag racing season wound up last weekend with the Auto Club NHRA finals at Pamona. Steve Torrance continued his incredible reign of dominance and secured the world title for a 4th consecutive year, with a win in the Top Fuel final, powering to a win in the final against Antron Brown. Ron Capps won his 2nd world title in funny car, but the event win went to Bob Tasker Jr., who defeated Alexis DeJoria in the final. A dream season for Greg Anderson ended with a 5th World Pro Stock Championship, as he raced to his 99th career win, defeating KB Racing teammate Kyle Koteski on a hole shot. And Matt Smith wrapped up his 2nd straight World Championship with a win over Karen Stoffer in the final of Pro Stock Bike. A new study commissioned by Motorsport Australia has revealed motorsport's impact to the Australian economy, claiming a total gross annual output of $8.6 billion. The Ernst & Young study claimed that the motorsport industry provides $3.1 billion in direct output, while providing an estimated $5.5 billion of indirect output based on pre-COVID figures. The industry supported 16,900 direct jobs, with a further 29,900 indirect jobs in 2019, the year the study was based on. The sport also enjoyed the support from approximately 18,900 unpaid officials and volunteers, creating a total workforce of about 65,700 people. In 2019, prior to the COVID shutdowns, 9,650 events were held throughout the country via the 3 FIA-sanctioned governing bodies, Motorsport Australia, Karting Australia and the Australian National Drag Racing Association, ANDRA. Andrew Fraser, President of Motorsport Australia, said, "As Australia embarks on its economic recovery, we know motorsport will continue to be an economic powerhouse, creator of jobs and boost for local economies, particularly in rural areas where many motorsport events take place." But the report doesn't even begin to show the full extent of the sport's contribution to the local economy. Add significant areas of the sport that weren't covered, such as speedway, powerboats, hot rodding and custom cars, events from other sanctioning bodies like the AASA and the IHRA, and most significantly, the entire two-wheel motorsport scene, and that figure would be even more impressive. And in Formula One news, Australian driver Oscar Piastri has been named as the reserve driver for the Alpine Formula One team in 2022. Piastri, who won the Formula 3 world title last year, is currently leading the Formula 2 championship with 2 rounds remaining. With Piastri's future now firmly signed with Alpine, his main rival for this year's Formula 2 title, Chinese driver Guanyu Zhou, will beat him to a full-time Formula 1 drive, joining Alfa Romeo Sauber. Zhou will replace Antonio Giovinazzi alongside Valtteri Bottas, who moves to Alfa next season. And that's the In Pit Lane Motorsport News for the week commencing Monday, November the 15th, 2021. For more news, follow the In Pit Lane Facebook page and remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can watch our live podcast, Full Course Yellow, every Thursday night at the earlier time of 9 p.m. Well, that's all we have time for this week on In Pit Lane. In fact, that's all we have time for this year on In Pit Lane. Just like to thank everybody who's helped out and made the program possible over what has been obviously a very difficult couple of years. We managed to string 2 years worth of programs together. In fact, it was over 2 years. We started this. We actually started this season in 2019, September 2019. We came back for 13 weeks, and somehow 2 years later, we're still on the air without much of a break. But we're going to take a break now, which I'm sure everybody will be very happy for. Nonetheless, not only me, but obviously you yourself. I mean, how are you going to miss us if we won't go away? Well, we are going away at least for the next few months. We are hoping to come back in 2022 for another year of In Pit Lane. We really want to be able to get back in the studio because that's the fun part of all of this. Thank you to everybody who has made this possible over the last couple of years. RMITV Student Television, RMIT University, and particularly the television studio staff. Thank you to everybody in there who've been so helpful in helping us put the program together. Thank you to Channel 31. Thank you to our sponsors from the Motorsport Fan Zone, Troy Shembry and his family, who were great supporters of the program. Obviously, they had issues. They couldn't have their expo this year because there was no Grand Prix to have it at. But thank you for your support, Troy, and thank you just recently, Roy Ellery, known to our regulars on Full Course Yellow as Virtual R. He's one of the people who joins us regularly, and he got in touch with us just recently and said, "Hey, listen, I'd like to help you guys out." He's got a company called Online Invent, and they basically are an online marketing company, and he said, "I can help you out in that area," and we really appreciate that as well. So thank you to him and everybody, and particularly thank you to you for watching the program. It's so good when we go out to tracks and when I'm out in the street and out to shopping and people come up and say good things about the show. And to be honest with you, they do usually say good things. People have been overwhelmingly very nice over the time that we've done this show. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you will continue to join us every week. Full Course Yellow will continue at least until the end of the Formula One season at the new earlier time of 9 o'clock. But we're going to be, still going after this program. So flick across to the YouTube channel or the Facebook page. And if you haven't followed or liked and subscribed either of those yet, please do so. In the meantime, thank you for joining us. And until we hopefully see you again next year on Channel 31, from all of us here on In Pit Lane, have a great break, a terrific summer. We'll see you next year. Let's keep our fingers crossed for a much better 2022. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.